Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We'd like to welcome you to this special board meeting that we're holding this afternoon. I'd like to ask you at this time if you would please turn off anything that makes a noise, that beeps or buzzes or whatever, so it won't distract the people that are sitting around you and won't distract us as well. If you would now, please, I'd like to ask you to stand for the invocation and pledge. And because yesterday was 9/11, I would like to read you a prayer that I found online that I think is very appropriate for today. It says, Almighty God, September the 11th, 2001, is indelibly inscribed in our memories. We looked with horror on the terrorist attack of that day, but we looked with honor on the acts of courage by ordinary people who sacrificed themselves, made their courage to be a witness to what is possible when we are guided by love and dedication. We shed our tears in a common bond of grief for those who were loved and lost, and ask that you continue to wrap their loved ones in your love and your care. Help us to remember what it means to be Americans, a people endowed with an abundance of blessings. Help us to cherish the freedoms we enjoy and inspire us to stand with courage, united as one nation in the midst of any adversity, and inspire us to love one another that we may become instruments of your peace. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Kind of looking out in the audience to see if we have any guests today. I see the Honorable Rhonda Skipper, our tax collector, is with us. It's good to see you, lady, as always. Is there anybody else, and I just can't see that far? School board member Jason Catalano is hiding in the chair of the school board. It's good to see you, Jason. Good to see all of our guests. We will call our meeting to order. First, we will consider the additions and deletions.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Under the county attorney, I'd like to add to authorize the chairman to sign the closing documents for the purchase of beachfront property in Doon Allen, and request to schedule a special meeting to hold an executive session. Oops, pardon me. Second, to request approval to schedule a special meeting to hold an executive session on September 20, 2016 at the South Walton Courthouse Annex at 3 p.m. or as soon as possible thereafter to discuss the Lionel and Tammy Alford versus Walton County case number 316-CV-00362-MRC-CJK and Edward Goodwin and Delaney Goodwin versus Walton County, Florida, case number 316-CV-0364-MCR-CJK.
All right, are those the two additions?
Yes, ma'am.
Could I have a motion, please, to approve the agenda with the additions?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. At this time, we will have public comment. If you have something that you would like to comment on that is on the agenda, that is on our current agenda, please come forward, state your name, and spell your last name for the record. If it's something that you want to talk about that is not on the agenda, if you will hold that item until after our regular agenda is over. Mr. Brooks.
My name is Bob Brooke, B-R-O-O-K-E, and I'd like to talk about two things on the agenda. The two items under the agreements and contracts regarding retaining David Theriak and Company. And it appears to be that the task for Mr. Theriak and his company will be to research, explore, and analyze historical beach use data in anticipation of litigation regarding the customary use doctrine. Now, this was on his original engagement letter or letter of engagement back in April. It was approved on April the 12th. Those exact words, they're in the two items today, so I find it difficult to determine in the case of either of these how how the county is going to determine which case applies or where the charges are going to be applied when billing the county, since you have the same tasks under 3 separate contracts or 3 separate letters of engagement. As I spoke on the 8th of April at your meeting, I find that these agreements have no limitation of costs, no deliverables. They're open-ended, put the county at risk completely for bearing the cost of anything that Mr. Theriak and his company may do. Further, this task regarding customary use, I thought that the 2 cases that are on the agenda here, the Alfred versus Walton County and the Goodwin versus Walton County, are in regard to the beach activities ordinance amendments that were approved a few meetings ago, and I don't know what they have to do with customary use. I would suggest that you take some time and look at these more closely before approving them and fully understand what it is that the Theriak Law Firm is being asked to do, what the limitations on how much they can spend are, and what they're supposed to deliver as a result of this. I don't see anything in here, in any of these documents, that anybody who knows good contracting practices would demand to be in a contract. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mark, would you like to address?
Well, certainly.
Okay, you're going to turn on your microphone.
The 2 contracts are specific as to the Goodwin case and the Alfred case. Mr. Theriak's firm is going to be co-counseling. The issue of customary use has been raised in that case. In fact, there's a hearing set in November on that very issue. So given his work under the previous contract, we wanted him to be able to appear and be an attorney of record in both the Goodwin and the Alfred case, and that's the purpose of this contract.
Okay.
And the billing will be done by case.
By case?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Ms. Bauschy.
Lisa Bauschy, B-O-U-S-H-Y. I'm under the impression that your insurance is going to defend on these cases. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. The insurance company has hired the Warner Law Firm to represent us, and quite frankly, their expertise is not particularly in customary use. It lies mostly in this particular case on the First Amendment and takings claims. Yes, ma'am.
So is Theriak in lieu of them,
No,
or in addition to them, or?
In addition, as co-counsel. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Celeste Cobena, C-O-B-E-N-A. I'd like to speak to the first addition to the agenda, the purchase of the beachfront property in June Allen, and I hope that the county moves forward with this, just even if people are going to bring lawsuits and complain and all that sort of thing, because as we see, this is the biggest issue, is we don't have enough beach access. We need this beach access. I'm going to tell you right now, I live on Hilltop Drive, the closest street to the north of where this is going to go in. I understand it's going to change traffic on 30A. So when I come out of Hilltop, I may have to sit there for a few minutes watching traffic, but I trust that the county's going to design that well so that it won't block traffic on 30A. But in the meantime, I own a business here in Walton County, and my best customers are the tourists. And as tourism increases, my business does better. And so I'm saying, if I have to sit there in traffic, I'll just count my money while I'm sitting there, because that's why these tourists come here. They don't come here to eat in the restaurants or shop or all that. They do that incidental to going to the beach. And so we need to give them as much access, as quality access as we can.
Thank you so much. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Lori Reichenbach, R-E-I-C-H-E-N-B-A-C-H, and I also am here to encourage you to move forward with the Dune Allen property. I live in a neighborhood in Seagrove, and it is a multifaceted neighborhood. We have gated communities with large fine homes. We have McMansions on the front water beach. We have condos. We have townhomes. We have 1950s style concrete block homes that have been there since the mid-1900s. We have Walton Dunes County access, and we all cohabitate peacefully. It's full. It's full every spring break, every day, all summer long, and all during fall break. And my personal experience is, yes, we get a little trash, but I don't think it's an unreasonable amount of trash left behind in regards to how many people we have. We don't find encroachment from the county park. Where we live, right there in a condo, there's plenty of room, and people are stacked up 3 and 4 rows deep on the county park. But they're great folks. They're just using the beach. Without our county parks, our own residents who live off the beach could not have access. Our tourists won't have access, and our second home investors won't have access. And one last thought. I live in a neighborhood with a high-profile country western singer. And he has a very, very large, expensive home. And he bought and refurbished that house knowing that there was a county park not 50 feet from his front beach property. And it works. Please, please move forward with getting the Dune Allen access for our people. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else? Mr. Roshkov.
Dave Roshkov, R-A-U-S-C-H-K-O-L-B. I don't want to repeat a lot of what everybody said, but I do want to put it like this. What if, in the very beginning, in the early days of Seagrove, when the first beach accesses were established, somebody said, not in our backyard. Those beaches have, until recent memory, those beaches have been used by everyone and enjoyed by everyone. And for anyone to ever have the audacity to say, not in my backyard, to have a beach access that's accessible for anyone who wants to go to the beach next to their home is just absolutely beyond the pale. So I just please encourage you to keep your conviction on this and buy up as many beach accesses as you possibly can and defend our customary right and our customary use to use the beaches and have access to the beaches. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right. Thank you for those comments. We appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, are there any items that you want removed from the consent agenda for further discussion? Seeing none, I need approval of the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Next, we have the Waste Management EAL. Mr. Chapman.
Madam Chair, I want to announce my conflict of interest, and I file the proper form with the clerk.
All right. Could I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and second. Any discussion? Anyone in the audience? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Mr. Jones.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Admin has nothing to present for your consideration today.
Okay. Mr. Tusa, you have nothing? Okay, thank you. Heard you took a tumble over the weekend. Hope you're feeling better. You know, I understand tumbles. You know, it must be catching, you know. Next, we have a public hearing concerning the resolution to reimpose and provide collection of special assessments in the Doggett Canal Subdivision Municipal Service Benefit Unit. I need a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. All right.
Madam Chair, if you recall, we had this on the agenda at our last meeting, and there was some concern regarding some matters involved in the assessment there at Doggett Canal and Subdivision. Staff met with their representatives last week, had a very good and healthy discussion about where we are this year and what we need to do moving forward if they wish to make some changes. This year, what we can approve is what's before you. Unless there's others that would convince you otherwise, we would recommend you approve that. And then as we move forward, as they wish to make changes, we've provided the process that they need to go through in order to make sure those changes are in a timely manner. So at this point next year, we will have done the things we need to do to be able to make those changes accordingly.
Okay.
So Mr. Wimorse is here that was
Yes,
at that meeting, if he may have.
Would you like to
comment.
speak on the matter, Mr. Wimorse?
Briefly.
All right.
Mike Wemorts, Weimorts. We did have a very productive meeting, Mr. Jones, Ms. Highnote, and we also had GSG on the phone and worked out some of the problematic areas with them for us to go forward next year and increase some of the assessments for some of the things we had mentioned before. But he encapsulates it perfectly, and we do want to proceed with the advertised assessments.
Very good.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone else that would like to speak on this matter? Seeing none, I need a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to close the public hearing. Now, do we have a motion to approve the resolution?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the resolution. Any further comment with the board? Anyone in the audience? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. All right. Mr. Nay. All right. We have a nay. Mr. Davis.
Thank you, Commissioners. The first item I have is number 16, is a request to review our 2 due diligence reports on property purchases, one located on County Highway 283 South, which has been referred to as the Great and Grand property. The second located on Highway 38, which we have referred to as the Dune Allen property. Commissioners, on September 9th, I provided to your offices 2 memorandums and with significant number of attachments that detail our due diligence reports. Just to briefly encapsulate, I don't want to read them back to you, obviously, but to briefly encapsulate, as to the Dune Allen property, Commissioners, as you know, we have a due diligence period that ends today at 5 o'clock. If we decide not to go forward, then we would need to deliver and authorize the chairman to sign a letter canceling or terminating the contract. If you do decide to go forward, understand, and I know you do, that we have received and been served a lawsuit that we'll have a hearing on Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. That lawsuit challenges our ability to pay for this property using TDT funds. We have reviewed the lawsuit and the law, and we feel confident that we can use TDT funds to purchase this property. There was also a report from Scott Caraway and from Jason Catalano. Jason Catalano addressed the planning issues you asked to be addressed. This property is neighborhood infill, which anything we develop on that property, as long as it remains neighborhood infill, would require a major development order. The property has, from Mr. Caraway, does have a slight portion of it that is covered by the Coastal Dune Lake Protection Zone. And part of the property, and I gave you the acreages in the memo, but part of the property is obviously seaward of the coastal construction control line. So there will be permitting should we choose to build what was proposed. There will be permitting issues that I believe he put in his email will take somewhere in the neighborhood of 6 to 8 months to complete. Those were the only issues we found as it related to those to that piece of property. As to the Great and Grand property, there is a conservation easement on that property. We provided you, I hope, a map that shows the conservation easement. The only issue, let me go back. On the Dune Allen property, there are no title issues. We have a title policy. It's clean. There's no issues associated with the title. On the Great and Grand property, same issue. There's no issues as it relates to title. We got a very clean title commitment. There is a conservation easement on the property. There's also a small Chelco easement on the property. It's inconsequential, quite frankly. There was an issue regarding a piece of mitigation property. There's some acreage that was set aside for mitigation. That mitigation has not been formally completed or accepted by DEP. The proposal that we're going to make to you today is that Mr. Odom and his companies remain responsible for that mitigation, and that we not have any responsibility to do anything on the mitigated property save for mitigation. And talking to our environmental folks and the folks that we deal with through our environmental folks at DEP, that should not hold up any construction or any plans for construction. So those are essentially encapsulates the 2 due diligence reports. If the suggested motion is to accept the due diligence reports in toto and move to go forward with both contracts, or you can do it in 2 different motions, it doesn't matter to me, or probably be safer to do them in 2 different motions, and then and the alternative, stop and terminate the contracts pursuant to the due diligence clause in the contracts.
Okay, so one would be to go forward, and two would be to authorize me to sign the paperwork.
That's correct. To not, to terminate or not.
Oh, not to
move forward.
terminate, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
We can take them one at a time.
Yes.
Yes, why don't we take
Probably
them,
be helpful.
Dune Allen?
Let's get discussion going, so I'll make a
Yeah.
motion to approve, we accept on the Dune Allen property. We'll get that started.
And to go forward with the closing.
To go forward.
Yes, sir.
Second?
We have a motion and a second to go forward with the Dune Allen property. Any discussion, ladies and gentlemen, anybody here at the table? Okay, we've heard from 3 or 4 people out in the audience. Does anyone else want to speak to that matter? Ms. Harris. If you come forward, state your name for the record.
Suzanne Harris. And if I'm repetitive, Mark, just let me know. The Dune Allen property that you're talking about, am I correct? Did the Attorney General say it was okay to do it if it was used for tourism parking?
Yes, ma'am. It's our interpretation of that opinion that we are covered. Yes, ma'am. Obviously, the
For
plaintiff.
tourism parking.
Yeah.
So it could not be used for any of the small businesses like that parking there now and things, that it could not be used if the tourists come or people from the north come and go to it and it's filled with nothing but employees that are being bused to Seaside and all, then you cannot use TDC money.
It has to be advertised and promoted as a tourist destination. That's correct.
Okay, and then can you give me any idea, have y'all even discussed, since some of these things from Jason are coming up at the last minute when it's been being talked about for a month, has anybody discussed how you keep it only tourism parking and you don't allow it to become all the restaurants parking with a shuttle taking their people back and forth to the restaurant?
Ms. Harris, I think the only disagreement we've had is I don't think it has to be exactly exclusive tourism parking. It just has to be connected to advertising related to tourism.
So you can advertise it for tourism, but then
If somebody else uses
some
it.
restaurant could fill it all up and run their shuttle every day.
Yeah, well, I don't know that we'd allow a shuttle to be used. Yes, ma'am. It's our property.
So
We
if
can-
you own a restaurant and you drive up there in the morning and all your employees are standing there, they can't put them in their van and take them to their restaurant? When it's over, bring them back at night?
We would
Because
have-
that's what they're doing at J. Odom's property now.
We would have it's our property. We'd have the regulatory authority to prevent that. Yes, ma'am.
So you would prevent it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
If
You're on
necessary.
record, you would prevent it.
We would attempt to
Okay.
prevent
Now,
it.
you're talking about the Great and
Now
Grand.
you're talking, no, I'm talking about
You know, okay. Yeah.
You would prevent it or you would attempt to prevent it?
Ms.
Which
Harris, I
one?
never predict what a judge is going to do, but I believe we have the ability and the regulatory authority to do that, and we would certainly attempt to do
And
that.
the court case is this Wednesday?
The petition for the temporary injunction to prevent us from using TDT funds on the Dune Allen properties Wednesday at 9 a.m. Yes, ma'am.
In whose court? Which judge?
Judge Santuri.
Thank you.
All right, anyone else? Boucher.
Lisa Bouchy, B-O-U-S-H-Y again. Well, I don't think this will happen. If, by chance, the judge ruled against you, where would the money come from to pay for it?
Well, assuming we close and the judge rules against us, we would have to reimburse the TDT probably from sales tax or general revenue. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I will cross that bridge when we get to it. It's not likely to happen, but just wanted to ask the question. Thank you.
Mr. Brooks.
Bob Brook, B-R-O-O-K-E. I just have one question for the board. Could someone tell me what the seaward boundary of the property will be, the Dune Allen property, once it's acquired by the county?
The current deed is to the mean high water mark, yes, sir.
So the
That's
county,
the deed.
the county will own the property to the mean high water lines. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? All right, we have a motion and second on the floor. All those in favor? Aye. Those, motion carries. Next, we need a motion for me to sign the,
Actually, that's at the end. We'd need a motion on the Grand property.
you want to do that first and then a
Yeah.
motion to sign? Okay. We need a motion on the Great and Grand property.
So moved.
Second.
All right. Any discussion on the Great and Grand property? Anyone in the audience? Seeing none? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Nay? We have, I will say aye. So we have 3 ayes and 2 nays. Motion carries.
Wow. Yes, ma'am, because we are paying more than the
We're paying the average of 2 appraisals.
average of the 2 appraisals. I'm gonna have to go do the math.
You want us to, what?
Well, somebody in the majority would have to move to reconsider,
I'll reconsider.
because we will have to have a supermajority, yes.
No. I'll reconsider, change my vote.
You'll need to make a motion to reconsider.
I make a motion, we reconsider.
All right. So,
Does the person in the minority make that motion, or does the person in the majority make that motion?
She's on the prevailing side.
The person on the prevailing side has to
Then I will make that motion to reconsider.
to reconsider, okay?
And there's a
All
second.
those in
Wait,
favor?
let's make sure there's a second.
Okay, is there a second to reconsider?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor of reconsidering?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we have 4 ayes and 1 nay.
2 nays.
We have 2 nays? Because, okay,
3-2.
3-2, so we're back where we started from.
No, we have, we now at the position where we can reconsider, so we would need a
So we're back to
second
the initial
motion.
motion, which was
That's correct.
motion.
Okay, your initial motion was
Initial
to
motion's back on the table.
go forward with the Great and Grand.
Yes.
Okay.
Second.
We have a second. All those in favor? Aye. Nay. 4, it's a supermajority. We'll carry it. Okay.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Wait, then I need a motion for me to sign the closing documents for Dunallen.
That's correct.
Motion for you to sign both documents.
Second.
Second, but this says just Dunallen. You want it to be both of them?
We'll do the ones on the Great and Grand on the 20th. yes.
Okay.
I have
So
it.
this is just the Dunallen property. You have a motion and second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Okay.
Thank you, Commissioners. The next item, which is add-on number 2, is a request to hold a special meeting for the purpose of an executive session on September 20th at the South Walton Courthouse at 3 p.m. or as soon as possible at that time to discuss 2 lawsuits. The first is Lionel and Tammy Alford versus Walton County, case number 3:16-CV-00362-MCR-CJK, and Goodwin versus Walton County, Florida, case number 3:16-CV-00364-MCR-C-CJK. Commissioners, those who would be present for that meeting would be myself, Mr. Jones, the board members, Ms. Noyes as Assistant County Attorney, Mr. Bill Warner and Tim Warner, and Mr. Dave Theriak will attend also.
Before we address, can I get a clarification on that last motion? That was to sign both Dunallen?
No.
Just Dunallen.
Just do now.
Just now.
We'll bring back Great and Grand on the 20th. Yes, sir.
All right. Do we have a motion to approve a special
So move.
Second.
motion second? Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. You skipped number 17.
I did. I apologize. If we'll go back to number 17, as you know, it's a request to approve and authorize the chair to sign the necessary closing documents to purchase the property located on Highway 83 adjacent to the Walton County Health Department. You approved the contract and the purchase some time ago. We are now ready to close on Thursday, and we just need your authorization for the chair to sign the closing documents.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion second. Any further discussion? Anyone in the audience? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. All righty.
Thank you, Commissioners.
You are welcome. Ms. Meadows, you have anything? Mr. Imfeld?
No, ma'am.
Ms. Jones?
I'm working on 3 projects. The Uchiana Community Center, St. Joe gave them $5,400. We did a ribbon cutting this week. The Gaskin Masonic Lodge, St. Joe gave $10,000, but I have to match, so I'm hoping that by the next meeting that one of the commissioners will help me match that. And then
Where's that at? Gaskin?
Gaskin Masonic Lodge. And then Flowers View just got $10,000, and we will be doing a ribbon cutting on whatever their plans are to spend that money. So been busy. Thank you.
So you're going to hit some of us up for money is what you're saying, huh?
Yes.
Right at me.
I'll have to look at my recreational flat fee is depleting at a fast rate of speed. I'll have to see.
I checked mine this week and it's $54. So.
Don't guess that'll do it. Well, we'll see what we can come up with.
Thank you.
Mr. Chapman?
I have none.
And I have nothing at this time, although I do want to thank, I don't see any of our first responders here in the audience. I think they may be hiding. Aha, there he is. You get in here. I see you. I want to thank Jeff. Yesterday, we had a 911 memorial in Defuniak Springs, and Jeff was a major part of that, Mr. Goldberg making it happen. It was quite a moving event. One of the neatest things was we apparently borrowed a flag from Crestview. It's one of the biggest flags. It took Chelco two ladder trucks to haul it up high enough to put it up. But it was a very moving service, reminding us of the folks that give their lives every day. They leave home in the morning, and of course we're all not certain we're going to make it home, but these folks put their life on the line for us every day, and it was a moving. And I appreciate, Jeff, your participation in it, and also I my commissioners that were there supporting us. So I appreciate that.
It was definitely a team effort. There were 14 people on the committee from 7 different agencies.
It showed. It was a very, very moving, touching. It's hard to believe it's been 15 years. Is there any other public comment at this time? Anyone that would like to speak on anything that they would feel so moved to speak on, or anything that coming up on a further agenda or anything? If not, we will be at...
Oh, just one second. Do we have this picture? Just wanted to share with the board, we took a tour of the new park under the bridge, the Thomas Pilcher Park, earlier today. I just wanted to show you the progress that was being made there. As you can see, that's the boardwalks, one of the pavilions, and that's the restrooms just to the left.
Because you can't see that from the bridge at all.
No, you can't see it at all. Those are the boat slips. The ramps are in, completing that construction. There's the boat ramps. There's some hard-headed guys.
Hard-headed guys?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we were.
Oh, I see now. Yeah, okay.
And that is the fishing pier. It's going out 400 feet. It's very sturdy, well built. When they started lifting the tugboat off the crane, with the crane off the boat, we decided to evacuate the
Time to
pier.
leave.
But it's coming along very nicely, so just wanted to share that with you.
That is wonderful. That is wonderful. All right, we do have one legislative item. We'll go ahead and deal with it. Request to approve the sign package for Southern Tire Mart.
Madam Chairman, I asked Matt Carpenter to come up. He worked diligently on this application for this for the industrial park.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Matt Carpenter for the Planning Department. This is a request to approve the Southern Tire Mart sign package. Each of these signs are requesting a variance from our standard Chapter 7 Land Development Code. The covenants and restrictions for the Mossyette Industrial Park, which is a Walton County park, allow this board to authorize variances to various requirements that promote economic development in this park. They're proposing both building signs and a pole-mounted sign similar to the Love's truck stop sign. Each of their proposed signs are within the parameters that this board has previously approved for other developments at the park. And I would recommend that this board approve this particular request.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion among the board? Anyone in the audience? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye.
Did this get pulled?
Motion, oh, I'm sorry. Allison, Allison Yai?
No.
Yay.
No, that one's been taken off.
That one's been taken off. Okay, it wasn't on mine, so I thought, yeah, okay. All right, we will, if I have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
So moved.
Okay, we will wait until 5:01 to hold our budget hearing. So, yes, 5:01 exactly.